What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Five Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mr. Martin115, joined by my lovely dance partner.
Hello, everybody. I am Carmo. Welcome back for another week.
And we are just days away from the biggest event in OTT, ScrapperMania, and much like we did last year, of course, you can't go in and talk about ScrapperMania without one of the biggest talents in OTT, and the man the whole pay-per-view is part-centered around. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by, once again, the leader of the draw, Mr. Sammy D.
Thanks for having me, boys. A pleasure to be here as always.
It's lovely to have you back. Obviously, last time we had you on, you were going in to be an OTT champion.
Same again, huh?
Hopefully,
it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
History repeating itself.
Come on, the Five Marks, you win a title. That's how it works around here.
My good luck charm.
Carmo,
hopefully, anyway.
I'll let you throw the first one.
And you know what, actually, we kind of started on that just because we were watching this video. Joe said this just before we started. Charlie Sterling put out a video in the last couple of minutes. He's fully cleared for ScrapperMania. That must be a huge bonus going into ScrapperMania.
Absolutely. I've been talking to Charlie earlier on today. He was telling me he was releasing the videos, but obviously I've been talking to Charlie the last few weeks on his rehab and his recovery, and it's went very, very well, better than any of us expected, back faster than expected, and it's great to see him going to return at ScrapperMania, his first match back, and obviously beside the rest of his draw teammates in a massive match on the biggest stage in European wrestling. So I'm delighted for Charlie, delighted for the draw, delighted for the wrestling fans to see him back.
Love it. But look, before we get into the rest of ScrapperMania, I do want to transition a little bit because we also have Hard Knocks coming up on September 1st in Dolan's Warehouse in Limerick. Hard Knocks undeniable. But I want to kind of push back a little bit in terms of Hard Knocks. And I want to go back to Hard Knocks Unbroken, where you wrestled Steve Savage for the NLW title. It was NLW title versus Steve Savage career in Limerick, where you end up beating Steve Savage, which meant he lost his career in Limerick. He no longer wrestled in Limerick.
You would think that's what most people would assume, that when you put your career on the line and say you're not going to wrestle in a promotion or a city again, and you lose, you be the man and follow the rules. But obviously it doesn't count to Steve Savage.
That's what I was just going to say. 2 shows later, we did see Steve back in the ring against fellow draw teammate Jay. But we'll get to a bit of more on Steve Savage later. But look, we get to Hard Knocks Celebrations, and you actually end up picking up the Hard Knocks World title. You ended up beating in a fatal 4-way against Justy, Raven Creed, and Renzo Rose. Like, you've proven yourself as a world champion around the country. Is it just another belt?
I wouldn't. There's no such thing as just another belt to me. I think I want to prove, I have proven, and want to continue to prove to be the best in this country, the best this island has. I think it's very hard to argue that point. And we all know how you show you're the best in professional wrestling, and that's championship belts and heavyweight championship belts at that. I've been lucky enough and talented enough to hold most major championships in this country, and the Hard Knocks means as much to me as any other championship belt I've held. I hold with great honor and pride, and that would be my answer. Of course, I enjoy Hard Knocks. I really enjoy being down there in Limerick, in Dolan's. They're great fun shows. But yeah, I'm privileged and honoured to have the Hard Knocks Championship around my waist.
And look, there was a bit of a kind of a, I suppose, tie-you in Hard Knocks where the Hard Knocks World title was kind of up in the air. We had Terry win it on the first show. He unfortunately got injured and couldn't defend it. We had LJ win it and then head over to Japan, so he couldn't defend it. So you did go up against Terry Thatcher at Warzone for the undisputed Hard Knocks World Championship in what many people will think is match of the year between the two of you. For that match, like as you said, you're a world champion throughout the country. You're proving yourself. To kind of show that you were the undisputed Hard Knocks world champion, how important was that?
I mean, I think the powers that be, Hard Knocks, have thrown every obstacle my way to make it seem I'm not undisputed. And again, with this match against LJ Cleary, I mean, to me, if you when you vacate a championship belt, that's you losing the belt. So there's nothing to dispute. Terry Thatcher walked away, vacated his championship because he was hurt. I mean, it's professional wrestling. We all get hurt, and that's what we do. We work hurt. LJ Cleary, in all fairness to him, has gone to Japan, but again vacated his championship in my eyes. So why is he in the title picture? I mean, it seems to me that they, whatever happened in the first couple of months of Hard Knocks, they now have a champion who is present and willing to carry the company forward, as I've done for many companies across the island.
One thing I wanted to ask you, because as of yesterday, in the eyes of Hard Knocks, LJ Cleary has been Hard Knocks World Champion for a year now. But LJ hasn't been in. He's not been competing in Dolan's. He's not been competing in Limerick. He's been over in Japan, doing his own thing. Do you think that gives you any advantage, disadvantage? Because you've been in Dolan's, you've been fighting, you've been competing with all these guys.
I mean, I'm not going to knock LJ for going to Japan and trying to better himself, better his career. But at the end of the day, if I ask you the same question, do you think LJ Cleary has been the Hard Knocks World Champion for a year?
No.
No.
There's your answer. For someone to walk back off a flight from Japan and walk straight into the title picture, and with a belt wrapped around his waist that he hasn't defended or carried, hasn't showed up to the company, hasn't showed up to Dolan's, I think it's disrespectful to the lads in the back. It's disrespectful to the audience members. It's disrespectful to the fans, and it's disrespectful to me, the world champion. There's plenty of other guys on that roster who deserve a title shot, who deserve to be in the title picture, have worked hard, have been on them shows. And listen, it is what it is. The match is booked, but am I happy about it? No. Am I going to beat LJ? Yes. Will I be undisputed again? How many times do I need to dispute this? I am the Hard Knocks World undisputed champion. That's a matter of fact. There's no one disputing that.
It's this type of question many times. You don't overlook opponents. You kind of look at everyone kind of not the same, but not to underestimate people. You've been in the undisputed title scene before with your match with Terry Thatcher, where you became undisputed world heavyweight champion in Hard Knocks. Are you going with the same kind of mindset as you did with Terry, or is there a little kind of not underlooking, but compared to Terry, but like he's been to Japan, he's gone around with the Bullet Club and stuff, that you might just kind of be going in with a different type of mindset here?
You can't underestimate LJ or his talent or what he's done the last year. I know Lee from the first time he trained, and I've watched his career. I watched him become a fantastic professional wrestler, but that doesn't diminish what I've done, diminish what I can do. Lee knows what challenge he has to step up. I think you have to have a certain mindset to step in the ring with me, and I'm the same on every day, any day against any opponent. It doesn't change. The snake doesn't change. The matter of fact is that they need to do their homework. They need to brush up. So whatever Lee's been doing, dancing over in Japan for the last year, it doesn't matter to me. I'm still going to be the snake on the day, and I still will be world champion. You can mark my words.
Carmo, is there anything you want to throw in?
I want to go to Collision Course, where we saw at the start of the show. It was kind of very much like an Ireland versus the UK type deal for that show. We saw at the start of the show where you kind of had that bit of a, I suppose, agreement with Steve Savage that you were on the same page, you were on the same team. You went up against Nathan Black and had a fantastic match. You got the victory over Nathan Black. We saw at the end of the show you come out and attack Steve Savage after his match. Was there frustration in that, in the sense of, one, you've retired this guy from Limerick. This guy is not supposed to be wrestling in Limerick. And two, You are the Hard Knocks World Champion, and you're not main eventing the shows.
As long as I can remember, the world champion main events the show in professional wrestling. Unless there's a very, very, you know, important circumstances, a very important match that maybe needs to go on last. Matter of fact, that's a matter of fact is that the world champion goes on last. The thing that annoys me about Steve Savage is not the fact that I retired him, because that's that. I mean, listen, that's on his record, not mine. Okay, if he still wants to book himself on his show or Hard Knocks and go out in front of his crowd, whatever. But if you want to disrespect me and book me before you, that's what I have a problem with. I am the world champion. I should be main eventing them shows. I've carried this country since COVID. I am the best wrestler in this country. I should be on last. I am the draw. I should be going on last. And it pisses me off that Steve Savage looks at himself as the main event. Steve Savage hasn't proved anything in this country. He hasn't done anything in this country. Steve Savage has built his little treehouse down in Limerick to bring his friends to play hardcore wrestling. Hardcore wrestling, deathmatch wrestling, is the most untalented thing anyone could do. To stick thumbtacks in each other, to stick staples in each other, to hit each other with light bulbs, to me, is the most untalented thing you can do in professional wrestling. If Steve wants to do that and wants to put himself on the show to do that, that's fine. But do not disrespect me. Do not disrespect my name and put me on before you.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, it's kind of a two-part question here, because obviously in the most terms of wrestling, when someone gets retired by somebody, you go to the person that retired you to ask, are you okay with me stepping back in the ring? Was there any talks with you and Steve about that? And two, one of the things that you spoke about with Steve in your after the attack was you don't want, you have no intentions of fighting Steve for the world title. Steve, to you, doesn't deserve the world title opportunity. Is there anything he could do to earn that shot?
There was no conversation. Me and Steve don't talk. We have never really talked. We and that is factual. This is not me pretending. This is me and Steve don't see eye to eye. We never have seen eye to eye. I think Steve has always been very jealous of me. I think Steve has always tried to emulate me, and unfortunately, Steve cannot be me. And Steve should focus on himself. But no, there was no conversation about him coming back from retirement, or was I okay with it? And in that case, there will be nothing Steve Savage can do to ever challenge me for the Hard Knocks World Championship. And that's just the way it is, because if he went about the right way, maybe, but I don't see him as a challenger. To be honest with you, I don't see him. I don't respect him. I don't respect him as a challenger. I don't respect him as a wrestler. And yeah, I don't see him ever challenging me from the Hard Knocks World Championship.
Can throw one in, Carmo?
Yeah, it's kind of the last Hard Knocks question I have, and it's kind of stepping away from what we've talked about, which was the last show, which was Hard Luck Volume 2. You, as OTT champion, talked about wanting to defend against young Irish talent. Not even young Irish talent, just Irish talent. What was it like to have that opportunity to step into the ring with someone like Cian Noonan?
Cian's a very talented young lad. I'm all for the up and coming lads getting opportunities at championships if they deserve them. And I think Cian has worked not only on shows but in the background very hard. But again, I embrace the challenge of these young lads, but also I want to bring them back down to earth. I want to show them that they need to up their game, and they also need to. I think a lot of these young lads, but not a lot of them, some of them, need to be humble. I'm not talking about Cian Noonan, but these lads need to sink their teeth in and really get the head down. So I think that's what I meant by wrestling these young lads was to show them that they need to step up.
Now, just one question I have here, just in regards to September 1st, yourself and LJ Cleary. Let's say in a world you beat LJ, you are 100%, there is no doubt, it's undeniable that you are the Hard Knocks undisputed world champion. One person we spoke to after the last show, Hard Luck, was Terry Thatcher. The two of you in Hard Knocks are 1-1, and he is looking for that rubber match. Would that be something that you'd be interested in doing, getting the second win, being done with it for yourself?
I think Thatcher needs to go to the back of the line, to be honest with you. Thatcher's always teetered thereabouts. I've enjoyed wrestling Thatcher, but I'm ready for new opponents in Hard Knocks. I'm ready for new challengers, and if Thatcher works his way back into that picture, so be it. But right now, I'm looking to the future. I'm looking to beat LJ, and I'm looking for a very new and exciting 2025, I suppose.
And just one more thing, and we're done with the Hard Knocks then. On September 1st, Hard Knocks Undeniable. There are many people who are kind of sitting there teetering on whether they'll buy a ticket or not. Is there anything that you want to say to the people that are kind of going, will I get down to Dolan's? Will I watch Sam and LJ?
I mean, I don't. If you look at that match on paper, it's probably one of the. I don't. How do I say this without sounding very egotistical? I mean, me and LJ are very, very talented professional wrestlers. The Dolan's is a fantastic venue. Hard Knocks is a fun, up and coming promotion in the country. And I feel that it's getting hotter and hotter every month. The shows are getting better and better. And I think this match with me and LJ will again raise the bar. So yeah, be a part of it. Buy a ticket. Get down to Dolan's.
Carmo, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Yeah, I can't wait. And I will say, September 1st, Hard Knocks Undeniable, Dolan's Warehouse, get there. Look, I want to kind of go back into OTT and kind of the ScrapperMania build-up. But as Martin said when we started the show, the last time we had you on was over a year ago. It was, I believe, about a week or two before ScrapperMania last year. When you were heading into what I think arguably your biggest match of your career against Omari in the National Stadium for the OTT World Championship. I've only ever had this feeling going into maybe 2 or 3 different things, where I remember when that match started, before while you were making your entrances, and there was just this different feeling in that entire stadium. The place just changed compared to the whole show. Making your entrance and hearing that crowd, what was that moment like for you?
I mean, it was a surreal moment. I suppose watching OTT from the get-go and seeing guys main event ScrapperMania was always the goal, even though maybe sometimes very far away in my head. I felt coming back from after COVID, I really grabbed the bull by the horns, and I pushed forward, and I aimed for the world championship, and I aimed for the main event ScrapperMania. But to be there and actually feel that crowd that evening, I mean, it's a feeling I'll probably never feel again. That home crowd on that night, the way the story unfolded, the way the way the reaction of the crowd was very different for Omari than he believed to be, and then also very different for me. I mean, it was incredible, and obviously a feeling that not many people will ever be able to feel that, and I feel very lucky that I was able to feel it on that night.
Just the build up to that moment, like when you I suppose are in that ring holding that title, like you've had your whole career building up to this moment. You're now at the top of the game. Not saying that you were before, but you're at the top of that ladder. Was there? It's hard to kind of nearly describe, I suppose, like a word for that moment. Was there kind of like an emotion or kind of like a relief to kind of like finally be there?
I mean, it was an overwhelming feeling, you know. I mean, you work so hard for your whole life from starting to wrestle to all the training sessions, all the hours on the mats to traveling up and down the country, traveling all over Europe. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that I didn't love every minute of it because I did, but it's not a. I think the problem, well, not the problem because it's just the way wrestling is, but there's no straight road, you know. There's no like this is the way you're going, and just keep going that way, and it's fine. But it's all tipsy turvy and it's up and downs, like everyone's life. But I mean, the business itself is so all over the place, and you know, it's just you don't know which way is up. And sometimes I was like, well, I just packed this in, and you know, it wasn't going my way, but I'm happy I stuck with it. And to get to that moment where you're the best in Ireland, there's no one doubting you that you're the best in Ireland, probably the best in Europe at that stage. Um, I mean, there is it's an achievement that you feel, and it's a sense of achievement and sense of pride that you've got to that point, and all your hard work paid off. Yeah, it's amazing feeling. It's a full circle moment.
And to see the draw then as well, like the picture of the four of you standing on the ring post at the end of the show, and you're all holding the championships that you have, the world title, the tag team title, the GN champion. Like from starting the draw to that very moment of the four of you standing in the ring, holding your belts up, proud as hell. Must have been a crazy moment to also share that with the draw boys.
I mean, it was a fantastic feeling. I mean, the vision I had and we had for the draw, it just grew strength to strength, and I feel you know, shows revolved around us at times, and it just, you know, we really did carry OTT for a long time, I believe, and to have that moment in the stadium where with my friends, you know, and with my pals, and we worked so hard together. We ran all these matches together and stories together, and it was a it was an amazing feeling to have the draw all there on that night, you know, and which as champions, as I said, we would be, you know, so yeah, another great feeling, a great achievement for all the guys.
I'll pass to Martin if you have any questions.
One thing I wanted to ask, because obviously, like last time we had you on, you did say, you know, end of ScrapperMania, the draw was gonna be dripping in gold, and the draw for the time it, you know, it's been around, and hopefully after this coming weekend it goes on for a lot longer. What kind of impact do you think the draw has had in Irish wrestling? You know, there's been so many groups, factions, whatever, that have been in Irish wrestling, but just something about the draw has just been. It's just been like a different aura.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of factions and a lot of groups around, and to me personally, I think we just really we wanted to stand out. We were all guys that wanted to maybe, and I hate saying this, like felt overlooked, or you know, that kind of victim mentality that, oh, well, you know, we you know, people are overlooking us. But I mean, we were like, right, well, how are we going to set ourselves apart here, and how are we going to climb to the top of the card and climb to the top of the ladder? And we said we're going to get stuck in here. We're going to upset people. We're going to hurt people. We don't really care what people think of us. And we went out, and you know, if you loved us or hated us, a lot more people hate us for a long time than they loved us. But we were okay with that, you know, because we were there to make an impact, a lasting impact. We were there to stay on people's minds month to month, show to show, and what are the draw going to do next? And that's what we set out to do. And also, we were four incredibly talented professional wrestlers, which always helps, you know.
Obviously, I know Carmo is going to go into the whole line from where the world title reign started to the end. So, but there's one moment I'm going to jump right to, because I feel like it's the biggest part of the story going into ScrapperMania. It was the tag team tournament. Obviously, you sustained an injury, and I believe it was the semi-final matchup, and Barry comes back. How much thought? Because obviously we spoke about, normally it's the person that retired the person to bring him back. How much thought for you went into bringing Barry back into the fold?
I mean, people change, times change. As I said there at the start, probably to my own demise, people change and times change. The fact that we set out and aimed to win in championships and be the best faction in Europe, in the world, without any care for anyone else, So that was, if that meant retiring Barry, that's what I was going to do. I was set on making a name for myself, and it didn't matter who I upset or hurt on that way. And Barry was just collateral damage. I don't really take things personally. I don't really hold grudges. So there was conversations had, and the conversation was to bring back Barry. And me and Barry go way back. We have a long story, as everyone knows. Maybe stupidly brought him back, regrettably brought him back. But that is a regret I carry, and also something that has kind of relit the fire of not really caring about other people or worrying about other people. The snake is back to doing what the snake does, and the snake will show that on ScrapperMania this year.
I'm going to talk about regrets again just a little later on. Carmo, I'll throw it to you because I know you want to go through the timeline.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, obviously that tag team tournament, obviously bringing back BCool, and obviously paid off. Jay and BCool became the new OTT tag team champions again. But I want to kind of head into the draw show. First of all, like, after all the success that the draws have, to now have a show named after you must be pretty cool.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. It was amazing. It's always cool for even to see yourself on a poster. Never mind having the show called after you. So yeah, it was a cool moment. I don't think anyone's ever had that in OTT. No,
don't think so. No, don't think so. Obviously, you went on to beat O'Mara for a second time at that show. You retained the title. We got to see the kind of introduction, I think, between kind of Charlie Sterling and BCool as well, which had its kind of rocky road for a while. But Showdown is kind of the one that I want to move on to next, because that contained the ladder match where Charlie Sterling ended up winning the briefcase for a title shot of his choosing at any time, any place. Your initial reaction to when Charlie won that briefcase, was it kind of, right, we need to get back, we'll say, the NLW title, or did you have a fear in the back of your mind that he might go after you?
Charlie is my brother. We always see things very similarly in the professional wrestling business. We always have. We both know that being world champion means you're the best. So it was always in the back of my mind. But for me, it was an idea to, maybe what's best for the draw, which is always what I try to instill and do myself, is what's best for the draw. So obviously I was hoping he would maybe compete for the NLW championship, but it didn't work out that way. But the thing is that the draw are for the best professional wrestlers in this, of the best professional wrestlers in this country. The matter of fact is, if you're going to have ladder matches, or if you're going to have scramble matches, or if you're going to have whatever battle royals, you're going to have one of the draw members come out on top, and that's a matter of fact. I can't be in that match, so it's always going to be one of the draw boys, in my opinion, coming out on top. So that's something you have to deal with. Me and Charlie went on to wrestle. As you know, you're probably going to say that now, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to get into. WrestleRama, you beat the returning Mark Haskins, and then Charlie came out after that match and did challenge you for the OTT World Championship at the 8th year anniversary. Initially, when he came out and made that challenge, I suppose, what was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction, probably anger, confusion. I mean, I always like to take myself out of the situation and think, when it comes to four guys, like the draw, you always have you have egos, you've goals, you've aspirations, and so you have to. And I also think we are a family. We're four brothers, and families fight, brothers fight. I don't blame Charlie for wanting to challenge for a world championship. Um, Matter of fact is that I probably would have done the same. So I can't knock Charlie for his decision. I think it is what it is. My main goal was to keep the draw together and make sure that the wheels didn't come off, no matter what the outcome was.
And the one thing I've got to praise, not only yourself and Charlie, but I think it's something that's instilled within the draw, was there's always been the unity there. When yourself and Charlie had the match coming up, obviously something else came in the way, the Grizzled Young Veterans. And even though 24 hours, give or take, away from that big World Championship match, the two of you remained on the same page, remained as the draw, and got the job done in Dublin.
Yeah, I mean, when the Grizzly Young Vets were announced to us, obviously Charlie has history with Gibson, and the Grizzly Young Vets is such a massive name, so they went away for a while and played around in NXT, but what we wanted to show was that we were still burning the candle over here, and we were still um in fact, what we wanted to show them were still that we were that, and we wanted to show them that we were the best in Europe. This is what you were missing while you were gone, and we wanted to beat them to show to emphatically that we were the best. They were renowned as one of the best tag teams in Europe. I feel that we have a free bird rule, and we're so tight and um, you know in the same mindset that any four of us could tag together. We've all tagged in 8 mans, we've all tagged in 6 ways, we've tagged together. We're not united that we can. Anyone could go in there. We are the best.
Carmo, do you want to take it there?
Yeah, I was going to say, and obviously we had a draw team at Jay. He went up against Kenta that night, and not quite in the draw yet. BCool going up against John Moxley, but the following night at Belfast, you did go on to have that match with Charlie, and it was an incredible match. And you kept it very fair, very down the middle between you, and obviously you came out the victor. After the match, did BCool join the draw?
I think if you watched Be Cool versus John Moxley, there would be there'd be no qualms about asking if he was draw material or not, So I think he was brought into the draw officially Belfast the night after Scrapper, or what was that, 8th anniversary? 8th anniversary.
Anniversary.
So yeah, so I think that was the night that it all changed, maybe.
Well, look, we've obviously, the Weekly Controversy lads have talked to you about everything to do with Trent and all the stuff that was going on there. So I want to skip on to the Gaff Party. Yourself, Trent, and Jay.
Can I go back 1 second, just because I know you talked to the lads before the local rumble. With the local rumble, obviously, BCool and Jay unfortunately ended up losing the tag team titles. Then we go into the local rumble match itself. Seemed to be a bit of a kind of dispute between Jay and BCool. BCool ended up eliminating Jay, but BCool ended up winning the rumble. What was your kind of thought process as the leader of draw as well behind that kind of whole situation?
I mean, obviously we didn't want to lose the tag team titles going into the local rumble. It was never on a radar. It was never on our plan. But shit happens, I suppose. We all wanted to reconvene and get ready for the rumble. And as I said to you, if any of the draw members are going into a match like that, you expect one of them to win. That's just a matter of fact. And as you see, BCool went on to win the local rumble.
Absolutely. I'm going to pass it back to Martin now for Gaff Party.
So I'm going to go into the story here of obviously because we know Jay was a member of the draw that kind of came in with the thought process of we can turn this guy from a joke to a megastar, which by far has been done. GN champion, tag team champion. But Jay kind of got to the point where he felt like he could be the top dog, and that's what led us to Gaff Party with Trent, Jay, and yourself for the OTT World Title. The one thing we've obviously seen your reaction afterwards. You weren't exactly happy with Jay. Going into that match, was there any kind of sense of there was going to be friction there, or was it going in as a unit and keep the title within the draw?
As leader of the draw, you have to deal with a lot of personalities. You both know Jay, personally. Jay has his moments, I feel I'm a good leader. I'm a good people person. I manage people well, So for me, the goal was to set out to keep the championship in the draw, but selfishly it was to keep it around my waist, the way it should have been. Jay obviously didn't see it that way. But again, do I blame Jay? At the time, yes. Moving away from that, probably not. Would I have done the same? Maybe. We're savages. The draw. We all want to be on top. We all want to win. We all want that ultimate prize of being world champion, and unfortunately, it can only be one. That night, unfortunately, the championship left the draw, and that's probably what I was more annoyed about than anything else. So.
Look, obviously, that night, as you said, the reign came to an end. Your first world championship reign coming to an end. Do you feel like the reign went the way that you kind of wanted to? I know we've had talks before of obviously you wanted more homegrown Irish talent going for it, but like there's still some massive names that you were able to put down in that first title reign.
I would have liked to make possibly. Well, obviously, I would have liked a longer reign. I maybe would have liked, a more consistent. Like there's a lot going on in the background with the draw. There was a lot going on. I had some shows where I was in tag matches. I had some injuries. It probably wasn't the most ideal championship. I worked hurt for most of my championship run. But again, I don't make excuses. I'm not one to make excuses. I'm one to set new goals, and my goal is to regain the championship at ScrapperMania and have a better run. I'm not saying my run was bad, and no, by no means. I had a fantastic run, but you have to want to get better in this sport, and that's what I aim to do.
Carmo, do you want to throw in a question there?
Yeah, I kind of want to stick on Gaff Party for a second because I know originally it was supposed to be yourself and Trent and Wolves, and then obviously the winner, which would have been yourself against Jay in Dublin. Do you think that really kind of changed everything? The fact that it got changed from 2 single matches into a triple threat. Do you think if it still had been the 2 singles matches that you still would be the OTT World Champion?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to make excuses, as I said, but I mean, you have to think. You've double the odds of losing your championship. You have to get pinned or submitted to lose your championship. So, I mean, everyone knows triple threats are harder to win. They're harder to gauge. They're harder to plan, and get a game plan in your head. So yeah, of course it was, and it was what a week before it was changed. So, I mean, of course it was harder to prepare for. Also, it's a matter of fact that it's one of your teammates that's in there against you too. So you have to take that in consideration. But again, I'm not one to make excuses. It is what it is. I lost the championship that night, unfortunately, but onwards and upwards.
Now I do want to the last thing on this because I want to kind of just talk about Jay because I went back and I watched that match during the week, and there is that moment where you're on the table and Jay knocked Trent into the ring. He had the two choices and he chose to go after you, put you through that table, and kind of knocked himself loopy and had to be taken away. Do you think within the draw you kind of maybe built up his confidence a bit too much? Because second time doing a risky move like that, and second time got knocked loopy.
I believe that Jay um, has learned his lesson. I hope. At the end of the day, the aim is to build champions and to build stars. Um, Jay felt he was going that way. Maybe a little premature. I don't know. Possibly a question you have to ask Jay.
That's perfect. Carl, is there something you want to throw in before we start moving on to Scrapper and stuff?
No, I'm actually going to move on to Supremacy, which was our next show. And you called for the draw to kind of find out, I suppose, the weak link, I think was the word that you used at the time. So all the draw would have their own matches, and you would end up fighting Jay. BCool obviously went on to beat Renzo. Adam Maxton went on to beat Scotty Davis. And you ended up taking a loss to Jay, unfortunately. But what was your thought process? Obviously, you've seen Adam Maxton and BCool take the victory. They've obviously done their part. Now you're going up against your teammate, Jay. And then, I suppose, to lose the match, what was your thought process?
I think if you think back to that timeline, I was consistently and constantly putting out fires within the draw. Do I think I found a weak link that night? No. Do I think I found the weak link now? Yes. Was the status quo messed when I brought BCool into the draw? Yes. I can't blame Jay or Charlie or Adam. I made the decision as a leader of the draw to bring BCool into the draw, and ultimately for a short period of time that messed with the formula that created the draw, that made the draw great. But you'll see at ScrapperMania that we are back to business, we are back to the best, and we are back to normal. You can mark my words.
Can I just throw one thing in there? Because obviously Barry was in the draw, will say, in my opinion, longer than he should have, if ever. Because you look at, there's so many massive points of change since Barry came back. One of them obviously being Jay losing the GN title after an absolutely amazing run Barry's doing. No Irish person can challenge for the NLW title. It was Barry's doing. The tag team titles, Carmo would disagree with me, Barry is doing. Was there kind of the thought of, because obviously again the history between the two of you, the friendship between the two of you, that was that a factor in kind of holding Barry into the draw?
I will add to Martin's point as well. Gaff Party, he did have the chair, he did hesitate, it might have distracted you coming up towards the finish of that match. And I believe yourself and Max had fought for the tag titles the following night. And he cost you that match as well.
Possibly always felt a little sorry for Barry, if I'm being completely honest. I was trying to include him into what was what was the best thing around, and to our demise, I suppose. Anything Barry touches falls apart. That's just a matter of fact. I thought I could salvage that, and unfortunately I couldn't. And that there was decisions that were made, and yeah. I mean, I take full responsibility for that time period. But as I said, onwards and upwards, moving forward, without BCool in the draw.
So back to you, Carmo.
Yeah, one of the last ones I kind of want to talk about is Spankdown. So obviously, we hold the draw meeting. Sorry, a bit of ice in my room. It's distracting me. You hold the draw meeting. We see everyone back. We see everyone back. Charlie's back. Adam's back. Everyone's in the ring. And you kind of actually want to kind of, I don't want to say kind of berate's the wrong word, but kind of talk through the points of how Adam and Charlie weren't around kind of much for the last year. Some of the mistakes that Jay have maybe made over the last year. But you kind of went on a bit of praise, kind of BCool for some of the stuff he's done over the last year. In saying that, you then asked BCool to give up his title shot at ScrapperMania, to give it to you so that you can go on to face Trent one-on-one. I know it's for the better of the draw, but when BCool said no, was that something that you were expecting, or did you expect BCool to be a team player?
I mean, being in charge isn't easy, and being the leader isn't easy. You sometimes have to say stuff that people don't like to hear. And what I said to Adam and Flex and Jay were all truthful things that I felt. The reason the draw was so successful was consistency. Consistency of us being together at every show, consistency of us having together, working together to be the best. And when pieces of the puzzle are missing, that's harder to do. Jay going up against me, trying to beat me for his own ego, and ultimately injuring himself, it wasn't for the best of the draw. So these are decisions that we all make, and we have to live with the consequences of decisions. BCool, me asking BCool, after all I did for BCool, him back from retirement, allowing him back in an OTT ring, allowing him in the draw, building his confidence enough where he could go on to win a major match on a major card, to even have the opportunity. The only reason he is in that Moxley match is because he was back in OTT wrestling the standard he was because of the draw. I mean, the amount I've done for him over the years, you wouldn't even believe. So the least he could do was, for the best of the draw, the group that has given him the opportunity to be in the face of one of the faces of Irish wrestling again, the least he could do was give me the opportunity. Because the matter of fact is, and you can, unfortunately, the reason this is all going about and why we're going to ScrapperMania the way we are, BCool can't win that championship. He doesn't have the capacity. He doesn't have the talent. And this is me just speaking as a person that owns professional wrestling. That's the least. I thought the least he could do was make the right decision. I thought I was very selfless in what I did for him, and he was very selfish in what he did to me.
We're going into Scrapper now, and it was, I'm assuming, what was supposed to be the press interview about BCool about the upcoming time match. You went in, and Barry put a spot on the line.
I want to go back just before you get into this, just because I want to make one last point, and I do apologize. Okay, I've done this once or twice, and it's kind of going against a little bit. But at SmackDown, you had a turn on Barry, and you, I suppose, Max did to come over and put him through the table. Max didn't do it, which meant that you had to get an injured Charlie Sterling. At the time, and it was still injured Charlie Sterling to do the business. Your thoughts on Max not doing it, and even Jay kind of being a bit standoffish?
I mean, that's the way I see it. But Barry turned his back on his draw brothers. That's something you just don't do. What we had to do was what could we stand there and say, okay, walk away? It doesn't work like that. That's not the way the business works. That's not the way the draw works. That's the way the draw does business. The draw have to stay as impactful as possible at all times, and we can't show weakness. For Barry to turn his back on me, someone who was cared for him, looked after him, guided him for years. He turned his back on me that night. Now, in the case of Adam Maxted, Barry's a likable person. I'm not going to deny that people love him. You know, people fall for his goofiness and his. As I go back to it, people feel sorry for Barry, and maybe Adam fell for that. Maybe Adam fell for that, but at the end of the day, I've had a conversation with Adam and Jay afterwards and explained to them what I've just explained to you, and they both saw my side, and they agree with me that we did the right thing that night.
Okay. I was just going to ask, and obviously you just said that you have with Jay, but about the Sanity show, yourself and Jay seem to have a bit of towards the end of that kind of show. Jay seemed to push you to the mat, and he walked off. I'm not fully sure what he said, but he said something about the draw, and then kind of walked away. Just, did you have a chat with Jay about that moment as well, or are you all still on the same page?
Jay, I feel Jay is frustrated with his injury. I can see why he would be frustrated. I feel maybe he maybe I prefer not to say what the conversation we had afterwards was, but I know for a fact that we are all going to be on the same page. ScrapperMania, don't worry about that.
I'll pass it back to Mark.
So obviously, ScrapperMania coming up. It's the draw. Yourself, Jay, Adam, and Charlie going up against BCool, and who knows? Has any thoughts gone into, one, if Barry can find anybody to stand with him, and two, if he does, who could Barry find?
To be completely honest with you lads, I couldn't care less who Barry has found. I'd say it's the fucking dregs of society, the lowest of the low of the card, because Barry doesn't have many friends. He certainly has lost the closest friends he's ever had. And you can ask anyone you step in the ring that has stepped in the ring with the draw, and you look across the ring and you see us. It's a different feeling. It's like looking down a barrel of a gun. So whoever he brings with him needs to prepare themselves for that. Barry needs to prepare himself for that. It doesn't matter who he brings. It doesn't matter what he brings. The matter of fact is that I am going to beat Team BCool. I am going on to beat Trent Seven, and I will be yet again your OTC World Champion.
Now, I want to ask, after everything we've talked about, from Scrapper last year to coming up to Scrapper here, and I know one of them that you're probably going to say, but has there been any regrets since April last year or March last year, or anything you would have done differently to kind of avoid the kind of the state that the draw is in at the moment?
The draw are great. So, I mean, you only see snippets of what the draw is. The draw are as good as ever. The draw will go on to ScrapperMania at the biggest stage in European wrestling and show why we are the best, why we have dominated European wrestling for the last 4 years. The only regret I have, and I think you know the answer to this, is bringing BCool into the draw. But that regret will be rectified at ScrapperMania. Don't you worry about that.
Carmo, is there anything you want to throw in there?
I have two last questions. One I don't want to ask, and I kind of do want to ask. I'm going to start with the one that I don't want to ask, but I'll ask it anyway. And feel free to not answer it if you don't want to. What happens at ScrapperMania if BCool wins?
BCool's not going to win at ScrapperMania. I mean, you can ask that question to 100 people, like family fortunes, 100 people are going to say your answer is the draw. I'm so sure that the draw will win at ScrapperMania. To be honest with you, I'd be if BCool bet me. Look at it this way. I've done this. I've done this dance. I'm doing this 17 years. Okay, I'm doing this longer than anything in my life. I'm doing this before. No one does this as long as me in this country. The way I've done it, the level I've done it, it's like breathing air to me. Okay, it's like walking to me. I'm just when I step out through that curtain of ScrapperMania, I'm home. Okay, I've done this dance. I beat Trent Seven. I've beat BCool. I've main evented ScrapperMania. I've done this. Barry hasn't done any of this. Okay, Barry's not prepared for what he's stepping into. I'd be embarrassed to step foot into an OTT ring again if BCool bet me. In fact, you can put me on record to say that. You can put me on record to say that. I don't think I'd step foot in an OT ring again if BCool bet me.
That answers my next question, because it's like, look, yourself, Jay, you know how much I love the draw. The logo's on my leg. But no doubt, I know Carmo, you're kind of leaning a bit differently. The draw walks away on Saturday, and we go to you versus Trent Seven. But I have to also put this out there. Once Barry's done with, what happens with the boys then? Do we go straight to tag team titles? Do we go get the GN or NLW title back? Is it back to the way we were a year ago? Get the gold, put the draw on top.
I'm speaking to Charlie and Jay. I know they're both coming back from injury, so they have their own goals and their own aspirations. Adam's obviously hit the ground running since his return. So, I mean, we all have our own careers, but the draw as a whole in OTT will continue to strive and to continue to be the cornerstone of Irish wrestling, the cornerstone of OTT. And we'll go strength to strength. I mean, we all have different things we want to pursue, but the draw will always be home for us all, and that's a fact. And the draw has been the biggest thing in Irish wrestling for a very long time, and it's not going away. Barry BCool isn't going to end the draw. It's not reasonable or rational to think that way.
Carmo, is there any final question you want to throw in there?
You basically just asked my last question. So all I will say is August 10th, National Stadium, ScrapperMania. I believe there's a little over 100 tickets left. So it could be one of the first full sellouts since before COVID. Is that correct?
You're welcome.
That's a perfect way to end it. If there's ever a way to end it, that's the way to end it.
Well, I'm going to say to the people listening, you have, as Carmo said there, August 10th, National Stadium, to come see Sammy D, the draw versus BCool. And once that job is done and dusted, September 1st, Hard Knocks, undeniable, Sammy D versus LJ Cleary. Please God, the final, undisputed Hard Knocks World title match. We could be calling you 3-champ Sam at Hard Knocks with 3 Hard Knocks titles. So get your tickets. Carmo said there's 100 and something tickets left. Probably less by the time that you're hearing this now. ScrapperMania is going to be amazing, and Hard Knocks is going to be just as damn good. I said you're welcome. Carmo, I said, Sam, is there any socials or anything you want to shout out or anything like that?
I think my socials are known. You can throw them up. It's at Sam Doyle 1 on Instagram and Sam Doyle 95 on Twitter. Yeah, cool.
And we have new merch at ScrapperMania.
New merch ScrapperMania. New draw merch ScrapperMania. We'll have plenty. We have plenty. Don't worry, boys.
Yeah. Carmo, what's our socials?
TheFiveMarks Pod on Twitter, TheFiveMarks Podcast everywhere else.
Yep.
Be sure to check out our YouTube and please give this video a like and a subscribe. Thank you very much.
As for this week, we hope you all have a great ScrapperMania weekend. If anything shall happen, you can either see me cheering in the stands or crying in the bathrooms, depending on which way the pay-per-view goes. But for this week, Carmo, what are we?
Thanks a million for future champ Sammy D for joining us as well today. Best of luck at ScrapperMania.
Cheers, boys.
But for another week, we are officially ding, ding, dong.